Good morning. Welcome to My Left Ear. I'm Carrie Freeman. It is Saturday, April 16th, and you have arrived at my political and psychic commentary. That's what My Left Ear is all about, and it is left-leaning, progressive, independence. So if I have Republicans or Trump voters, you're not going to like this site, so you probably should move on. Want to save you some time, right? And maybe aggravation. So what I do is I get information through my left ear, psychic information, and I also do the runes, which you'll see shortly. They're a little different from tarot. They're interesting. Been doing them a long time. And what I do privately when I'm not doing these videos is I call myself a change agent. I've been doing therapeutic hypnosis for 20 years, and I do psychic coaching. And if you look in the description below, my email is there. You can email me and I'll send you a one sheet of my services, and then links to videos on my psychic coaching, my hypnotherapy, and good evidence, which is fun. It is video 13. Okay, so here we go. This is for entertainment purposes only. Now, I do have an announcement that's fun. On Monday, April 25th, I'm going to be joining Milu on his show, and I'm in California, so it'll be 9 a.m. my time, Pacific Standard, and noon Eastern time because he's in Florida. I'll put that in my community, but I'm very excited to join him and talk about everything that's coming up. Now, I mentioned that I was very excited last week when Glenn Kirshner started following me on Instagram. He does follow me on Twitter. He's very good and gentlemanly about following people when he sees their name over and over. So I'm not like special on Twitter, but he has acknowledged me, and sometimes he responds and he likes something I say. So he's somewhat aware of me. Well, he's on Instagram. I'm on Instagram. And I responded to something that he had on Instagram, and I mentioned, I think it was, excitement about the appointment of Judge Jackson to the Supreme Court. Judge Ketanji. I'm trying to get good at saying it. Brown Jackson. But I mentioned that I thought she had received tremendous verbal, and I would even call it emotional abuse, that I thought it was ugly. And someone responded to me directly, and they were kind of nasty, cynical. Well, what would you have us do? She has not been, other people have been more mistreated than she. And are you suggesting they shouldn't ask those questions? And it was very clear to me this wasn't someone I should engage with, that we would not. So I replied to, I think it was a man, and I just said, I appreciate your point of view. I think we should agree to disagree because I have different opinions, and I wish you well. And within 5 minutes, Glenn Kirshner started following me, and I really think it was because of how I answered the MAGA type character that wrote me. I really think that was it, that I just was really cool and calm, and not wanting to give him, or really anybody, an opportunity to lash out or argue with me, because there's no winning. Anyway, I really like Glenn Kirshner. I wish he was the Attorney General. And I was excited that he's following me on Instagram. All right, onward. This is good news, and I do have some runes for you, but I just want to say this. Within the last few days, Representative Jamie Raskin, who's this brilliant constitutional scholar, and he's on the January 6th committee, announced that there's new information coming out in terms of the investigation for January 6th, stuff that we don't know yet. And he said there are new characters, meaning, players, some are scoundrels. And this is what I loved. And he said, and there are some new names that are heroes in our story. So I'm so excited to hear about the heroes that were trying to do the right thing. Anyway, there's more coming. There's more names coming, and it ain't over. It ain't over. Now, big thing this week was when the Russian battleship, I'm going to spell it, and then I'm going to try to say it, MOS as in sister, KVA, MOSKVA, I think. MOSKVA. You definitely can correct me. And then there were these false reports that it was an internal thing on the ship, but it wasn't. It was 2 missiles that sunk it from the Ukraine did. So I asked the runes, what's the significance of this Russian battleship sinking? It was Putin's pride and joy, this battleship. So I want to share with you what I got. So the first rune I got was Gateway, and I did pull them so I can just hold them up. That's Gateway. And Gateway is the rune of non-action. It says there's work to be done. Now, with the sinking, the Russians have been confronted with a true reflection of themselves, because they would have sunk every ship possible if Ukraine had ships. So this is short, this Gateway, because it renders them, they've lost this big ship, and they also had other ships that moved out of the territory when this happened. Now, this really shook up Putin, and it enraged Putin. And also, it goes back to Putin completely underestimating Ukraine. And also, I just want to say, aside from the runes, Zelensky and his fighters, his army, surprised everybody when they did this attack on the ship. They surprised everybody, including Americans. And I think that in itself is really significant, because they are really strategizing, planning, doing things in a very stealth manner. So what else are they doing? Okay, so now going back to the significance of the ship going down. The second rune was Harvest. And Harvest is a good rune. A harvest is the rune of beneficial outcomes. So the sinking of the ship was very much a beneficial outcome, but there's no quick results. Of course, it doesn't win the war, but it certainly illustrates, whoa, these Ukrainian people are formidable, and of course they're getting more equipment. So Harvest, rune of beneficial outcomes, not for the Russians, but there are no quick results. So this is just one thing that happened. Harvest talks about patience, that it's essential to let the harvest come into season. And it says, for those whose labor is having a long season, a long coming to terms, nevertheless, this rune, Harvest, offers encouragement. And that would be encouragement to Ukraine. And then the final one is Breakthrough. Looks like a little bow tie. You see that? Breakthrough. Breakthrough tells us there's a major shift. There's a breakthrough. There's a complete and radical transformation. So even though the ship was really well done, bravo, brava, that there's much more work to do to have this radical transformation. And the rune, I quoted the runes here. It says, in each life there comes at least one moment which, if recognized and seized, transforms the course of that life or that country forever. So this sinking of the ship in my world, in my left ear's world, is very significant. It just put everybody on alert. And the only thing I will say, and I did not throw runes on this, because Putin is not doing great and he's firing people, incarcerating people, and he just brought in a general who is known for cruelty, and the general is called I think he's called the Butcher of Syria. He's very scary, and he's brought in this guy, which is frightening based on this man's activity, war crimes, etc., etc. And it's possible that because Putin is so angry, how dare the Ukrainians usurp him like that, surprise him like that, sink his mighty battleship. He's looking for revenge. And I think that security should even tighten up more around Zelensky. The battle, as you know probably by now, is now moving to eastern Ukraine, Donbass. They are expecting really bad assaults. And as you know, Boris Johnson was seen in the streets of Kyiv and Bucha, and he is supporting Ukraine and Zelensky, which is great. The United States, I think it was 800 million, possibly. Did I get that right? In missiles, equipment for Zelensky. So they're getting more and more and more. Ukraine is getting more and more and more. And of course, never fast enough. Now, one of the things that Putin is insane about is that it looks like Finland and Sweden are going to join NATO really quickly. And he is threatening if that happens. He's threatening. He's just jumping up and down. He's so upset. My left ear doesn't think he's going to do the nuclear thing. And neither does Michael McFaul, the ex-ambassador to Russia. Nobody knows for sure, however. But a lot of people think, no, he just won't. He will threaten. We all could be wrong. But he's very upset about Finland and Sweden. And he's also written a cease and desist letter to the White House, the president, I don't know who it goes to, maybe the president, about stopping shipping equipment to Ukraine. Well, that's like a joke, right? I mean, that's a joke. But it tells us he's really upset and probably scared, because this is one guy that doesn't want to be humiliated. He is to be taken seriously. I want to talk about something. This happens a lot with my left ear. Weeks and weeks and weeks ago, I talked about there's a war on women. I actually talked with someone who I know through Twitter. We've never met. She really doesn't watch this YouTube channel, but after we have long talks, I find that she quotes me on Twitter. She thinks things I've said are very clever, and she doesn't really give me credit. But I said to her weeks ago, there's a war on women. And she went, oh my God, war on women. Well, that was her first tweet the next day. Well, they're all saying it now. Joy Reid. I don't know whether it came from me, but I just want you to know I've been talking about this war on women for weeks and weeks, and now they're all calling. Because you know what? It is a war on women. So abortion is being legislated all over the red states. Like, it's like a feeding frenzy. How quickly can we go after women's uteruses and ovaries and the doctors who want to help them? They're going to punish doctors 10 years in prison. Okay, so my screen blew up. We know that happens all the time. We're going to fix it so I can read. The states that are doing this with ankle bracelets and monitoring, if a woman does get pregnant before 15 weeks and gets in, they're going to monitor her, where she's going to wear ankle bracelets. There's going to be reports from the clinics to the clinics. Very severe, very unconstitutional right now. But the bad states are Kentucky, Missouri, Texas, Oklahoma, and now Florida. And of course, Florida is, it's probably, I think Florida may be our most fascist state. And I think that because of that, I renamed the governor of Florida. He is now Vladimir DeSantis. And it might make you laugh. You know, there is a little humor there, Vlad DeSantis, but I'm really serious because he's introduced new abortion laws, no exceptions, 15 weeks. And he was making a speech and he had these two little girls in matching pink dresses standing with him at the podium, and they were miserable. One was like maybe 3 and all she wanted to do was get off the platform. But I found it very offensive because he was using his little daughters as political shills to make a point. He was exploiting his own daughters. And then also raging against Disney, Walt Disney, about saying gay, which Disney is not on board with. So they're in a fight. But right now it's Vladimir DeSantis. He's very scary to me. I haven't thrown runes on whether he's going to be beaten in the election. I feel like he has a lot of dark money and a machine behind him. He's very dangerous. He can never become president. It's bad enough what he's doing in Florida. Florida is a completely fascist state now. People can't even ask him questions without being removed. If he doesn't like your question, you are physically removed. He's a mini Trump. Now, Greg Abbott, governor of Texas. These governors are bad. A lot of them are bad guys. Well, you know, he's held up the whole shipping supply, and there's miles of supply trucks, produce trucks that have held up, that are going to delay food, rise the cost of food and produce way up. There's going to be a shortage, and there is about a loss of $240 million worth of food because of one guy, Greg Abbott, pulling a stunt. So he's realized that he's made this horrible mistake. He thought he could hurt the economy and hurt Biden. You know, they want to just do nasty things so they can hurt Biden and make Biden look bad. But he realized, oh my God, it's making me look bad. So he slowed it down, but he's cost us $240 million worth of wasted food. Now, I suggest that he gets fined $240 million. I think he should have to pay that back. Don't you? But that being said, he set up a really good platform for Beto O'Rourke. Beto gets to talk about this disaster with the loss of food. And you know, the GOP doesn't even want to pay for school lunches for children, but to make a political point, they just wasted all this food. But it's a great platform for Beto O'Rourke to win as governor. Letting the electrical grid in Texas fray and people freezing in their beds, Texans, is another, well, it's tragic. It's unbelievably tragic. But Beto O'Rourke, this is another talking point for him, for his platform. So here's the runes again. Will Beto O'Rourke be the new governor of Texas? So what I have here is fertility. Fertility, that's fertility. It's new beginnings. And it's a time of joyous deliverance, and it's a rune of great power. Now, we've got the initiation reversed, but do not worry, because this is about Abbott. It says the old way has come to an end. Now that's about Abbott, because there's nothing to, that you can't say that about Beto. He's just beginning. The old way is coming to an end, and that's Abbott. This may be a fight for voting authenticity, but this rune says we cannot repeat the old and not suffer. It does suggest that at the end of this really tough journey, Beto will feel overwhelmed and exhausted at meeting so many obstructions. But here's the good thing. This is the third rune of this question. Will Beto be the new governor of Texas? This is the rune of joy. Joy. It can be nothing else but joy. And it says the light has come. It is a fruit-bearing rune. And the term of your travail has ended. So I'm going to say, yes, Beto is going to become governor of Texas, and that is a game changer, all capitals, game changer. So then I went way out on a limb, and I asked about the war in Ukraine. It's a tough one, right? So I just asked, is there an end in sight for this war? What is the energy? So I got the rune of opening, but I got it in the reversed position. And that's okay. It makes sense because it says there's a darkening in some situation, and it portends a death. It is the death of a way of life. And I'm adding the word, what follows the death is rebuilding. Give up gladly the old. It's a hard one to say, right? Because of the losses. And prepare to live for a time empty. Develop inner stability. Well, you know, that really makes sense because so much of Ukraine is being demolished. So people will have to live a time empty before stability comes, before rebuilding comes. And it says, don't be seduced by the old ways. Be willing to reinvent and live in this emptiness while waiting for the new. Because that's a very tough transition should Ukraine win. Tough transition. And then the last one I got on this was, so the second one, is flow. Flow. And flow is unseen powers at work here. Things that you and I can't know about. Powers that nourish and shape. Those are good words. And it has to do with water, fluidity, and the ebb and flow of emotions, which would come at the end of a gigantic battle. The flow indicates a time for cleansing, reorganizing, realignment. And of course, that would be Ukraine. It is a happy ending, by the way. And then the final rune in this question about the war is journey. Journey. Now, journey has two sides and two elements, and that certainly makes sense because this is not really a war. It was an invasion, but it's being fought like a war. Has two sides, two elements. And it has to do with an ultimate reunion that comes at the end of a long journey. And that would be the reunion of what's left of Ukraine and the people. It says what is above and what is below are united. It's a journey towards self-healing, which of course Ukraine has a long, long journey of healing. It is also, leaving you with this, it is also the soul's journey, which has within it the element of joy. We wait on the will of heaven here, but these are pretty good runes. I think we're looking at 6 months to a year, probably closer to 6 months, okay? Now, also, a week or two ago, I read to you the definition of genocide, because I thought maybe a lot of people hadn't even looked it up. And then Biden came out and claimed that Putin is committing genocide. And Biden got some criticism, not from everybody, but it actually is genocide. And so I'm here to remind you of that. I brought that up and I read you the definition, and it is genocide. And claiming it makes any kind of healing or negotiation almost impossible. Although I think from the beginning it was almost impossible. Now here's a little comment. Trump was on Fox, I don't call it Fox News, Fox, I think 3 different times with Sean Hannity. And each time Sean Hannity tried to get Donald Trump to say or agree that Putin is evil. I heard it. He tried 3 different times and he could not get Donald. Donald deflected, changed the subject, would not use the word evil. And you know, Trump is evil too, so that's part of it, but also because Trump still wants stuff from Vlad, or he owes him a lot of money. So he won't ever call this, well, it's one psychopath calling another psychopath, you know. And then a little note, because it's just hilarious, Stephen Miller. I mean, who even knows what Stephen Miller did in the White House exactly? But he's 36 years old. He's married with a child. Who knows who would actually marry him and wake up with him? Woo, that's a tough one. But he's still on his parents' phone plan. You heard it. He's 36. He worked in the White House. He's married and has a baby, and he's on his parents' phone plan. Just had to mention that. Now, there is this character, Justin Johnson, who was a seditionist that got arrested. He's 42 years old. And his whole defense is, I was just following orders. I was doing what President Trump wanted me to do. Kind of talk like he knew Trump. Trump wanted me to do this. And the federal judge, who's very experienced, has a great history, Judge Reggie Walton, actually said, our former president is a charlatan. We have charlatans in this movement running the country. And then the judge says, how old are you? Like, you're not a grown man? So his sentencing is coming up. Justin Johnson wanted to be released until he gets sentenced, and Reggie Walton said, no way, you are a risk. So no bail. I'm going to repeat this again to you because it keeps coming up. Trump is not running in 2024. I've been saying this ever since I've had this channel. He's not running. And he's deteriorating really badly. And in in conjunction with that, this week, the RNC, Rona Mitney, Rona McDaniel, she's a relative of Mitt Romney. Rona Romney McDaniel, I don't know. She's a relative of Mitt Romney. Come out and announced that there would be, the RNC would no longer take part in presidential debates. I'm not going to come to that party. Well, they don't want to answer questions. They don't want to be caught in lies, and they don't want to look stupid. So we're going to watch this unfold. It might be a fantastic opening for the Democrats, actually. I say, okay, let's still plan the debate, and let's let whoever's running, hopefully President Joe Biden, do a town hall and take the questions from a town hall. Okay? And I don't think Trump is going to see prison. I think he's going to deteriorate to such a point that it won't be prison. If he doesn't expire, he's going to be in a wheelchair. So God only knows who's going to run. Oh, and let's just pray it's not Ron DeSantis. But I'm going to wait on doing those runes. Because I keep thinking there might be some bad news that comes out on Ron DeSantis that just flattens his whole career. We will see. So I asked one more thing, and I got my runes kind of messed up here, to be honest with you. I asked, will the GOP try to illegally overturn Democratic wins in the midterms, assuming that Democrats win? And I got breakthrough, the rune of breakthrough, which is beneficial outcomes for the Dems, but we can't hasten the outcome. Then I got very serious rune, which I bring up from time to time, stand still. It's the winter of spiritual life is upon you. That would be the GOP. And they may be powerless to do anything. They're going to need to submit and surrender. For them, for the GOP, positive accomplishment is not likely now. Shed, release, cleanse the old. It requires a sacrifice. They will have to sacrifice. And constraint, which is this kind of worn out rune, constraint has to do with the limitations we cause ourselves. Now, through lying and illegal activity and manipulation, the GOP has caused themselves a lot of limitations, and it suggests that their shadow side is up, their growth is stunted, and there are hold-ups. There's a big need for restraint by the GOP. All right, we've come to the end now. I've really done a lot of talking today. Good evidence. So something funny just happened right before I started this. I was climbing under my desk to get something, and I found this little trinket that someone gave me. It's actually very weighty. It's not light. It's really cool. Okay, so on one side, I just found it like 5 minutes ago. It says, things happen for a reason. I really like that message. And then on the other side, it says, just believe. So I think there's a reason that I found that little charm again. So I'm sharing it with you. Just believe. Little good of personal good fortune. Without making phone calls, writing letters, or trying, my book, which some of you have ordered and read, The Comic's Daughter, is now in the hands of 3 people that are involved in the motion picture industry that have some cachet, some power, some position. So hold a good thought, because that wasn't happening. It's brand new energy that just whooshed in. So that's cool. And now, along with this, I'm going to share something with you that I just think is hilarious. In the book, for those of you who read it, there is a chapter 23. It's called Enter Mammoth. The Deus Ex Machina. That's about David Mamet, the playwright, who won a Pulitzer Prize for Glenn Ross, and has written just tons and tons of plays and books and essays and stuff like that. And I could probably do a whole show on him, but if you read the book, then you know I had a huge romance with him when I was very young, and he influenced my life in an extremely positive way. I was really lost, and at the age of 22, he was pretty brilliant, and he said, "What are you going to do with the rest of your life?" And I said, "I don't know." I mean, I really was lost at 19, 18. And he said, "Well, you know, you're very smart. Do you know how smart you are?" And I went, "No." And he said, "Well, you're very smart and you really need to go to college." And no one had ever told me that. And because of him, I went to college and I graduated. Honestly, just because of that conversation. So I stayed kind of crazy about him all these years. And he, went on and got married, got 2 marriages, happily married now, children. He's mature. He moved to California. And so I had lunch with him a few times, and I asked him advice on writing the book. He gave me really good advice, and then he just sort of disappeared. I know why he disappeared. I can tell you that later. But out of the blue, I got a book from Amazon that David wrote. Now, in the meantime, David became a Republican. He went from Democrat to Republican. And in fact, it was really funny. I was in a donut shop one day, and I literally heard 2 guys having a cup of coffee, and one of them said, "Did you hear that Mamet became a right-winger?" And I was like, "What?" I didn't talk to the gentleman, but I was like, so then I looked it up, and he had transferred over to being a Republican. And I actually, the last time I had lunch with him, I was kind of joking with him about it because I didn't know how deep it went. And I said, "Now, come on, really, could you ever imagine Sarah Palin actually being president? Come on, just you and me." And he went, "Why not?" Well, I think he did that to just provoke. I really do. But anyway, that was, and then I didn't see him after that because he went off and wrote a novel called Chicago. And my book is The Comic's Daughter, A Chicago Tale. Part of my book is a mafia story, and it takes place in the 60s. So he went off and wrote a novel called Chicago. It's a mafia story, and it's a period piece. Never talked to him after that. Anyway, so I get this book. This is his new book, his new right-wing book, and he's appearing on Fox talking about, I don't want to say these words on YouTube. They don't like it. But, talking about stuff that's unsavory. So anyway, the person that sent this to me was my client in rehab. So I've known she and her husband for years and years. Lovely people when I knew them. They even flew me up to McCall, Idaho to help her with a relapse. That's a beautiful place, by the way, McCall, Idaho. We never talk politics. They're very wealthy, very, very wealthy. And they have one home in Florida, one home in Dakota. And I lost touch with them. And out of the blue, last week, I got a text. I'm telling you, a text that was after 6 years that said, "Oh my goodness, David Mamet is going to be on Fox." Now, she knew all about my history with him because she was one of the first people to read the book, and she ordered a lot of them too and gave them away. And I was like, oh. And then I read about this book. So he was on Fox talking about this book and all this right-wing stuff. But she sent this to me thinking or assuming that I am a Republican and a MAGA, and just because I have a history with Mamet, that I would carry the same values and opinions, and I do not. And I hope this makes you laugh. I actually called, they do not know about my YouTube channel, so, but I actually called Amazon and I said, "Look, I got a book as a gift. I really don't want it. Can I return it to you and get credit on my account?" And they said, "No, the credit will go back to the people who gifted you." So I have to figure out what to do with this. Maybe I'll burn it. I don't know. But anyway, I just wanted to share it. It's a long story, but wild. I mean, just when I started selling this and it getting promoted and people reading it and getting great reviews, his name popped up. It's very strange. So now we get to the quotes. And this quote is by Mahatma Gandhi. And he wrote, "When I despair, I remember that all through history, the way of truth and love has always won. There have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time they seem invincible, but in the end, they always fall." Think of it. Always. Mahatma Gandhi. Good one for today, right? All right. Now the next one, because some of you are younger, I think, that might be watching, there was this great television show that was on a long time ago called The Twilight Zone, created by the brilliant Rod Serling, who is no longer with us. He was such a talented man, such a deep man. And this is what Rod Serling said or wrote. "A sickness known as hate, not a virus, not a microbe, not a germ, but a sickness nonetheless, highly contagious, deadly in its effects. Don't look for it in the Twilight Zone. Look for it in the mirror. Look for it before the light goes out altogether." He wrote that a long time ago. It's pretty profound, right? All right, so just a reminder to anybody that didn't see my show promoting my book, on the community page, it tells you the website to go and order the book. And then in the description, it also gives you the website for the Comics Daughter. And this is all based on true events. There is a murder story in here. And there's a lot about narcissism and growing up with narcissism. Some of it's very funny and some of it is poignant. The reviews from you, my left ear people, have been fantastic. Thank you for the reviews. Thank you for letting me know that you liked it. And now I say, this is my longest show ever, make peace, make good memories, okay? Make peace, make good memories, and let's keep sending light to the Ukrainians and the Russian people that are suffering, okay? Peace and love. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.